And welcome also from my side to this little compressed, let's say, presentation about the OWASP Juice Shop. So I will try to give you an overview of what the project is, and but also focus a bit more on the newer features, so that it's hopefully even interesting for those who already know the Juice Shop and maybe have even played with it some time ago. So yeah, my name is Björn Kimminich. I'm the project lead for the OWASP Juice Shop, and I'm also part of the leadership in the German OWASP chapter, and I'm currently chairing the OWASP project committee as well. So I'm a pretty busy bee in the OWASP world, I would say. So as you see, I actually changed the Juice Shop logo a little bit to for particularly for this event. I will later upload this file into the OWASP Swag repository and share the link with the moderators here, so that in case the chapter wants to have some stickers printed at any point in the future, so then you definitely can do that. Okay, so let's start. So in case you have really no time at all today, and you have to run after basically in the next 2 minutes, then this is basically the slide that you want to screenshot, because it gives you the compressed information about what the Juice Shop actually is. So I will go through a bit more details, obviously, during the session, but just to give a rough overview, so the Juice Shop is a vulnerable web application. I still consider it probably still the most modern one, because it's using Angular in the front end, so it's a rich internet application, which is something still not totally popular in many of the other Vuln apps that you find in the wild. And it has quite a few features which go beyond just playing around with cross-site scripting and SQL injection. And so you can use it in capture the flag events. You can use it in enterprise scope security awareness sessions, and you can also use it to play around with your security tools and see what they are actually able to find, especially in, for example, front-end heavy applications. So we will take a little tour at the beginning. So for those who've never seen the Juice Shop, this is actually how it looks like. So when you visit it, you are greeted with a list of lovely products that you can take a look at. So like the melon bike, for example, or you can maybe you're interested in like smoothies because you're really into health. You could also take a look at some reviews that users actually left. And of course, there's some more products hidden here. You also see a lot of merchandise, and most of the merchandise you see here is actually that actually exists, and some of it is even still available. So, so that's the product overview. Of course, there's some more stuff hidden here in the menu. So, for example, there's an About Us page which tells you the really interesting story of the Juice Shop company. It also gives you all the links to everything that you need these days, from Twitter to even seemingly some NFTs that the Juice Shop tries to sell. There's a photo wall where customers actually posted interesting pictures with their juice or with their product that they bought in the shop. There's also some broken images here, it seems, so no idea why that happens, but well, that's how it is. You can seemingly even leave feedback anonymously. Well, but what you cannot do anonymously is shopping, right? So in order to actually buy some stuff, we need to get an account. So let's try to log in, and I could now either create a brand new account, or I can, to save some time, just use the demo account that is built into the application, and you will never guess what the password is. So, using the demo account, I'm now finally able to put stuff into my shopping basket. So let's start with a melon bike. I really like that. I also want some of the green smoothies. And maybe also, let's see, what else can I use? Maybe a mug. And maybe I also want the OWASP Snakes and Ladders web applications game that you can use for as a plugin for a popular board game simulator. So what about that? So let's take a look in the shopping basket. So maybe I decided, okay, I really can't afford the melon bike, so maybe I throw that out, but instead I might actually get a few more smoothies. So you can, of course, do all that. Then you go to the checkout. And because I picked the demo user, it already has everything that we need to complete the purchase, so we don't waste time creating addresses and also payment options and stuff. So, but first choosing how fast do I need my stuff. So I think I'm fine with standard delivery. Payment, I can choose between my credit card that has been completely securely saved in the JuiceShop database, of course. I can also pay with my in-store wallet. And also there's some other payment options, but those are actually just links to the official JuiceShop merchandise and a link to donate to the OWASP Foundation, which is always a good idea. So let's pay with our wallet. Okay, I'm satisfied with everything I see. Place your order and pay. And now I have completed my purchase. And I immediately receive a tracking link here on the top. So I can see that I will get my delivery in 5 days. That's the estimation. And it currently is still in the warehouse as you would expect. Alright, that sounds good. So the JuiceShop now, since I'm now logged in, gained a few more features. So for example, I could, which I of course won't do because I don't have anything to complain, but I could raise a complaint, for example, if one of my orders went missing or something went wrong or something arrived broken. I can also start a friendly interaction with the JuiceShop's chatbot. Maybe let's do that. So, hi. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Juicy. Oh damn. And I immediately didn't read what the bot said, right? So it asked me for my name and I responded hi. So now it thinks my name is hi. So I can ask it questions. How much is apple juice, for example? And the bot will tell me how much apple juice or lemon juice costs. So, well, but at least it got the question decently right. So, about us, that is all still there. I could also become a deluxe member for the JuiceShop, so I will get better offers and faster delivery for free and all that kind of stuff. Very nice. And here on the top, in the account menu, you also see lots of additional options. So, like looking at my order history, there are some privacy and security things. I could even set up two-factor authentication for the JuiceShop. So, that would actually also work. So, as you can see, this basically concludes the quick demo of the actual shop part of the application. This is a fully functional web shop, right? So the only thing that it doesn't do, it doesn't end up in you getting the actual goods that you ordered, right? But it also doesn't end up in me getting your money, so that's a fair no-op trade, I would say. But from the functionality point of view, it works. But of course, that's not the main use case of the actual JuiceShop, right? So the actual use case is to hack it and to try and break it. And that's why the JuiceShop contains, at the moment, 101 hacking challenges. The 102nd is already available on the staging environment, so it will be one more very soon. And as you can see here in the distribution of categories, JuiceShop has basically everything that you would expect, right? So it has cross-site scripting in various kinds, sensitive data exposure, input validation problems, broken access control, vulnerable components, and so on and so on. So basically, JuiceShop covers everything from the OWASP top 10. And not only the current ones, but also the ones from, let's say, almost since the beginning, I would assume. It doesn't have a buffer overflow, I think, but that's about it. Everything else is basically available in the juice shop to actually hack. So the challenges are separated into different difficulty levels, so that basically everyone has something to do. So you can start with the easy 1-star challenges to get a feeling for how the hacking stuff works, or you can also do the how do you say, nail biter issues where you really have to invest a lot of time and energy to actually get them done, right? So that's why the juice shop is actually pretty popular with, for example, with developers who do the first security trainings that they maybe ever get. But it's also used by seasoned pen testers to play around and try to actually solve some of the really, really hard stuff. When you successfully solve a challenge, you will be seeing your progress on the scoreboard of the juice shop, which you see a screenshot here. I will also show it a bit later. So the scoreboard has all the information, you can do different filtering and all that stuff, and we will take a look at that live later on. And later on is actually exactly now. So let's quickly jump over to the juice shop. Now the problem is that, I showed you in the screenshot that there is a scoreboard, but there was no link to that scoreboard anywhere where we clicked around, right? So, and even if you look as hard as you want on the UI, you will not find the link to the actual scoreboard. Because it's actually the first hacking challenge that typically people get when they play with the juice shop, find the scoreboard. So, there's one link here that we didn't use so far, and that is the help getting started link. And this will actually launch a little tutorial. Let me zoom in a bit. And this will help you to find the actual scoreboard. Unless you already know where it is, then of course you don't need this, right? But this is actually a little bot that will give you some hints and advice on how to actually try and find the scoreboard. So you can speed it up a little bit if it's talking too slow for you. So, and it already tells us, okay, we can either do it via URL guessing, or we can go through the client-side JavaScript code and try to find some useful information. So, and it will even tell us how we get to the development tools to actually do that. So, I will just do it the quick way and do URL guessing, right? So I could, for example, try this URL, and I have a typo in there, so it will of course not work. But even if I don't have a typo, it will still not work, because this is the wrong URL. But if I paid attention to the different URLs I already visited, you might have noticed that different words are actually split by dashes here in the UI. And maybe that's a common thing. So let's see if this is actually working. So score dashboard. And as you see here, we now get confetti, and actually the little bot here on the top is also congratulating us that we found the actual scoreboard. And we can now send it away. So this is the scoreboard when you start off. It will by default only show you the 1-star challenges. Apart from the scoreboard telling you that you solved a hacking challenge, you also get a little notification here on the top that will also tell you. And as you've also seen, there's some confetti being shot when you actually successfully solve a hacking challenge. So, so that's basically it. And we could now start filtering for different things. So, for example, I could decide that I'm only interested in injection challenges, but then, of course, all difficulties. And now it will show me all the different hacking challenges, right? That are about injection topics, right? Or I could say, okay, I want only cross-site scripting, for example, and then you can see there's actually quite a few different cross-site scripting activities, and also across various difficulty levels. Okay, so what you can also do, you can download the progress that you actually made, and you can later restore it if you want. But actually, the Juice Shop saves your progress anyway in a cookie. So if you always use the same browser and you have no plugins messing with your cookies, then it should just restore automatically after a restart. So it should remember how many challenges you actually solved. Yeah, so that's basically the scoreboard. Going back to the presentation. So there's one thing that I didn't show. You can launch the Juice Shop in a so-called tutorial mode. And this will basically prevent you from using any of the filters, right? So it will only allow you to see 1-star challenges first, and also only the ones which come with built-in tutorials. So the little tutorial that helped us find the scoreboard itself was not the only tutorial in the Juice Shop. So these little icons here with the little student hat or graduation cap, they actually, when you click these, that triggers another tutorial to help you solve one of the challenges. And several of the easier challenges actually have these kind of tutorials. So it's all about making it accessible for a broader audience, right? And also, if you do it in a self-paced learning style and you don't have an instructor-led training where people guide you through the application. So this is actually quite useful, especially when you are just playing with the Juice Shop alone. So assuming that you're running in tutorial mode, if you solve all the 1-star challenges which are presented, it will then unlock the 2-star challenges with tutorials and then the 3-star challenges, and that's basically it, because there is only tutorials available for I think 10 or 11 challenges in total. So once you solved all the tutorial challenges, then the entire scoreboard will unlock, and then you can just use the Juice Shop in your own speed, basically, in the way that you actually like. So behind the scenes, Juice Shop is actually doing some stuff to prevent you, not prevent, but to actually notice if you are doing something fishy. So we call it anti-cheat or cheat detection. So whenever you solve a hacking challenge, Juice Shop will compare a few things. So it will actually verify what challenge you solved before, how much time you spent in between, and also calculate some other things to rate the currently solved challenge with a cheat score between 0 and 1. So similar to spam scoring. And it will also keep track of your overall cheat score. So this is, of course, something completely uninteresting for the users themselves. But if you consider Juice Shop being used in a training setup, then the trainer might actually be monitoring the different cheat scores for the different students or participants, right? So they actually have an idea, although it's not completely precise, but at least they have an idea if someone is just using the existing solutions from the internet and just types them in without actually trying themselves. Because, for example, they are way too fast with solving the challenges. So, a relatively new feature still in the Juice Shop is the so-called coding challenges. And these become available once you actually, for some of the challenges, they become available after you solve the hacking challenge. And instead of explaining this on a screenshot, I would also like to show you how that works. But in order to do so properly, we should first solve an actual challenge, right? So finding the scoreboard also comes with a coding challenge, but it's not the best example. So let's try to solve one of the hacking challenges here. So favorite examples are always the DOM XSS, because there's one very easy way to do that. But today I would like to do something a little bit different. We will try an injection attack. And what is the most obvious place to try injection attacks? Of course, it's the login form, right? Because this is basically the jackpot for every pen tester if you're just able to log in with some account via some simple SQL injection. So, but first, because we want to do this a bit more realistically, so let's play around with the login a little bit. So let's try something. Okay, invalid email or password. I know that the demo user exists, so let's try that with a broken password. Okay, invalid email or password. Well, now then let's try something more nefarious, like a single quote. And I actually get a success notification here, but not for a SQL injection, but actually it seems that I provoked an error that was not properly or consistently handled. And you might notice here on the top, the error message is a little bit obscure, right? So in order to hopefully see what goes on, maybe I should open my DevTools and take a look at the console or the network tab. So let's see what's actually going on here. So let's do that again. And you can see that our login request ran into a 500 error.
Sorry, I'll have to interrupt you for just a couple of
you
seconds.
You can see that we have an error in the response.
Everybody, sorry for the interruption. I had a bit of a power issue and used the USB-C port for both my output and power at the same time, but apparently didn't work. Now it's back to Björn with the OWASP Juice Shop. Björn, the floor is yours.
Thank you again. So, let's do a quick rewind into the actual challenge that we actually want to solve here. So we want to try and solve an injection challenge, classic SQL injection, by attacking the login screen of the Juice Shop, right? So let's see if that works. Can you see my screen actually? All right. Okay. So, yeah, very good. Okay, good. So, we try to, what we want to do a SQL injection attack against the login form in the Juice Shop here, to see if that actually works. We play around a little bit with invalid inputs, so user accounts where we are pretty sure that the email address doesn't exist, or maybe an existing user that we already know of, but with definitely the wrong password, and it behaves like you would expect, right? But we can also try something like sending a single quote character, and the error message that we see looks a little bit weird. And maybe I should have turned on my developer tools and also take a look at the network traffic while I'm doing this, right? So let's try to log in again. And now I notice there's a login request happening, and it goes horribly wrong, because it runs into a SQLite error, and SQLite complains about an unrecognized token. So this is a very clear indication that we can actually do some SQL injection here. Actually, the error message is so nice to even completely tell us the whole query syntax, so it should be pretty easy for me to actually fix it now, right? So let's try to first repair the query by essentially commenting out all the rest here after my injected single quote, and let's see what happens. So I still get an error, but now it says invalid email address or password, right? So, because what it tries now, it tries to get me an empty username and no password check, but that of course doesn't exist. So I could, for example, now try this, because I know that the demo user exists, and as you can see, I am now properly logged in as, let's check, as the demo user. Cool. So if you remember what the scoreboard said, the scoreboard actually said I should try to log in as different users, right? So for example, I should try to log in as the administrator. So either I could guess now what the administrator's username might be, which is probably not even that hard, or I could do a slightly different trick, which is probably the most popular SQL injection payload ever, and just see if I can log in with, well, hopefully the first user that appears in the database, which might coincidentally also be the administrator, right? Because maybe they have been created first, like often happens, I would say. So let's see. And as you can see, I'm getting confetti and I'm told that I logged in as the admin successfully. Very nice. And it also says so here on the top. And I probably wouldn't have been able to guess this username, right? So, good that the or 1 equals 1 trick worked. Now, going back to the scoreboard, it will now show us that we successfully solved the login admin challenge here. But what it also did, it unlocked this little button, and the button says launch associated coding challenge. And this is what we want to do now. So, the JuiceShop now loads some actual piece of code from the application itself. So this is not like a fake code snippet that we made up. This is the actual code coming live from the server, basically. And it asks me to actually find the line of code that is responsible for this SQL injection problem, and then I can submit it. So it could be 1 or more lines, and I can select them here, right? So maybe I'm very confident that this must be the actual problem, right? Must have something to do with security. So let's see. Submit. Seems to be the wrong answer. Well, too bad. So, well, maybe it's, let's see. Maybe it's the error handling that is wrong. Let's try that. Submit it again. It's still the wrong answer. But as you can see, now the JuiceShop tries to help me a little bit, right? So I get a little hint what I should actually look for. And this would actually continue if I submit even more wrong answers, right? So, of course, it should be pretty obvious that the way that the SQL query is assembled here with things coming directly from the request, that this is, of course, the wrong, the mistake. But just for fun, let me submit a few more wrong answers here so you can actually see that I get a different hint and maybe even a third hint, right? And the hints get more and more explicit. But at some point, the JuiceShop is basically giving up and is just telling you what the actual answer is, because we don't want people to get completely stuck and frustrated, right? So line 15 is the one responsible for the SQL injection problem. And when I submit it, this is of course correct. I get confetti again, and I'm now in the second phase of the coding challenge, which is called Fix It. So I am now provided with 4 different fix options, and I can view them here, and the JuiceShop is basically proposing some change to how I might actually fix this issue. So, for example, I can either compare it line by line, like in this case. I can also go for side-by-side comparison if I prefer that. So, depends on what you like. So, here it actually proposes to do some regular expression matching. Okay. Second option. Here it proposes to actually do some, it proposes to do some variable binding. Okay, that's good. Maybe that's the right solution, right? I mean, variable binding is, of course, that's always a good idea. So let's submit this. And while, of course, variable binding is a nice thing, But this is not enough, right? So because I didn't read this completely down to the end, because here it still directly uses the password here. So that's not really properly done yet. So let's see. We might actually take a look at the other options, which is always a good idea to look at all options before you submit your answer. So here in this case, it now says, okay, do variable binding for both email and password. And now I don't want to make another mistake, so let's take a look at fix 4 as well. Looks kind of similar, but here it also hashes the password before it's put into the query, which looks like the best option, right? So the third option didn't have that, so that would have been saving the password in clear text or submitting it in the query in clear text. So let's submit this option here, which is correct. Then I get an explanation why this is the right answer. I could, if I wanted to, I could now rate the challenge, and I can close it and then also get it marked here as green, right? And you can see also that you can also do a rating for the different hacking challenges, if you like. And this is very simple approach, so there's nothing fancy happening in the Juice Shop. This will just send you to a Google Doc, a Google form, and you can anonymously just provide some feedback if you like the challenge, and also give some comment about it. So these are the coding challenges. So switching gears a little bit. So this was basically the Juice Shop, let's say, basic functionality. You can also use Juice Shop in capture the flag events pretty nicely. So if you run it in a specific configuration, the notifications will contain a flag code, which you can then copy, and you can use it in a central CTF server of your choice to actually submit and then get the points on the CTF server. So from the setup, Juice Shop, you can run Juice Shop instances wherever you want. You only need to make sure that the flag codes that your Juice Shop creates are the ones which are known on the CTF score server, right? And this can be done by generating them in a specific way with a specific key that the server also uses. Well, setting this up manually is, of course, quite a bit of effort, which is why we created a little tool that helps you doing that. And our little tool supports 3 popular servers, CTFD, the Facebook CTF server, and also root the box. And what you can essentially do, you run this little command line tool, and you answer a handful of questions here. So, for example, for what server you want to generate data for, where the challenges should be retrieved from, the key, if you don't want to use the default. And you can also say if hints and all that kind of stuff should be free or paid or not available at all. And once you answered all these questions, you get a zip file or XML file, depending on the selected server type, generated. And you are then handed some instructions how to import this into the corresponding server. So running this little script here takes you, I don't know, 2-3 minutes maybe, and importing this zip file into CTFD, which is a very popular open source CTF server, is also very, very straightforward and takes you maybe another 5 minutes. And then you have a completely set up CTF with all the Juice Shop challenges inside, and when you start the Juice Shop with the same CTF key as you used to generate this export for the score server, then the users can actually paste their flag code into the CTF server, and then it will be solved on the score server, and you will get points and whatever. So that is very, very straightforward. Here are some screenshots how this actually looks. So this is from root the box. This is the Facebook CTF server, which is for quite some time not developed anymore. So I'm not sure if that's so highly used still. And CTFD screenshots you can see down here. Another, let's say, supporting service around the juice shop is the MultiJuicer, which is a platform to actually run juice shop in bigger training setups, so that not every user needs to launch their own instance. So you can basically provide a central Kubernetes cluster with many juice shop instances, one per user or one per team, and you basically get them centrally assigned, and you're also the users are also kind of have sticky sessions to their instance, so they don't interfere with each other's hacking progress. This is a third-party project, which is so it's not part of the official juice shop OWASP project itself, but it's very closely related, and the main maintainer of this project is actually also a core team member of the juice shop. So the way it works is pretty straightforward. So you have a Kubernetes cluster with the juice shop instances, which are dynamically started on demand, and a custom built load balancer called Juice Balancer, which assigns different teams or people to those instances and makes sure that they are isolated properly. So that's a very, very nice thing. It also looks pretty nice. So when you register with your team, you get a code. So in case you want to share an instance with a different user, you can just tell them your login code basically, and they can connect also to your same instance. And MultiJuicer also comes with a little scoreboard of its own. So it's kind of a lightweight, CTF-friendly solution. If you don't need a full-blown CTF server, you can here basically compare the different progress for the different running instances. Another feature of the juice shop that now again goes into a little bit of a different direction is the rebranding or the theming that we support. So the screenshots that you see here, this is basically the juice shop running in the Kühne-Nagel theme, which is the company I work for, and this is basically what I use when I do awareness sessions with especially non-IT people, right? Because it's all nice and fine to actually show people the juice shop UI, and I think most nerds and tech-aware people will actually get it and feel fine playing with this. But if you want to explain security issues to someone not so technical, it's better to actually show them something that they know, right? So something that is from their business domain, for example. And then this whole stuff with the comic icons here for the different juices and all those sometimes a little bit snarky humor inside that might not work in all environments properly. So you can basically change it to something different. And let me just quickly relaunch the juice shop in a different theme that is coming along with the application, which has been built some years ago by the Mozilla team for an internal training of their own. So if I now refresh the UI, you can see that a lot has changed. The color palette has changed, the icon has changed, the name has changed. The entire product catalog is now different, right? Except for a few things which are still the same. But so now it's all about Mozilla stuff. You can even see, if you, for example, go to the support chat, that even the chatbot avatar is now different, right? So, and if you go to the About Us page, now also the links to the social media accounts are different. So you can customize almost everything in the juice shop to not completely hide its origin, but to make it feel like a merchandise shop of a different company, right? So let's start it back in default mode again. So yeah, this is a pretty useful feature, especially for security awareness trainings. And in order to do that, all you have to do is provide a custom YAML file where you override all the values that you want to set on your own. So you don't have to fully customize it if you don't like, but the JuShop already comes with a handful of themes which do the full-blown configuration. For example, the Mozilla's theme is built in, and it will basically give you a good idea how you can do this. For example, to create a theme for your own company that you work for, or for a customer of yours. And as I mentioned, even the inventory can be changed, and the configuration mechanism is actually quite smart. So either you provide images already in a dedicated folder, or you just give it a URL, and then the application will download that image on startup and place it in the correct folder, and then use it later on from there. So it's pretty convenient, I would say, and pretty powerful. And to be honest, I've never seen this in any other vulnerable web application before. So, very briefly about some of the things behind the scenes. So the JuShop, I mentioned it already, is an Angular application in the front end. It uses Material Design and Angular Material for its look and feel and user experience. In the back end, we have a Node.js server with the, I guess, still pretty popular Express framework. We know already from the error message from the SQL injection that there's a SQLite database in the background, which is abstracted away via the SQLite framework and some small other framework that generates REST endpoints automatically, which is of course completely terribly configured. So you will also have some fun hacking the JuShop API actually. And also we have an in-memory database, which is MarsDB, and this is a JavaScript implementation of a MongoDB. So we also have some document database related injection challenges, for example, and those use then MongoDB syntax. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward and lightweight setup, especially because the SQLite is just a file, and this is in memory, so the entire JuShop runs very nicely in one single Docker container. So you don't need to compose any crazy things with having one container for the database, one for that, one for this. It's just all in one single container. And this makes JuShop very, very simple to run and install, right? To install and run. So of course you can run it locally with Node.js. That's what I'm currently doing. You can run it easily in Docker, or you can wrap it in Vagrant if you prefer that. And we have also instructions on how to get it running on basically every major cloud provider. JuShop is quite nicely translated into many different languages. The size of the flag only signals let's say the level of translation completeness. So maybe let me just quickly show this. Going back here and refreshing so we get the default layout back. So let's go back here to the main page. And let's log out, and here I can select the intended language which I like. So if I, for example, pick Dutch, you notice that there are some strings already translated, right? But not everything. And if I hit refresh now, it would, if there are translations for backend texts, it would also translate these. And you can see that for some of the products, for example, for banana juice, which seems to be Bananensap, right? So this is now also translated. which is actually pretty nice. And this even goes, depending on the language, as mentioned, right? This might even cover the scoreboard. So as you can see here, the challenge descriptions here, for example, have also been translated, and these are coming also from the backend. So the little temperature indicator here shows the completeness of the translation, but only for the front end code. So the back end code is in most cases less translated. But in general, Dutch is pretty complete for the front end strings, which are static. Can still use some work for back end texts. And as we use Crowdin, which is the same translation provider that also Zap uses, it's pretty straightforward to use, let's say. So I appreciate every help with actually doing translations for the application. Okay, so this is basically my favorite slide of the whole presentation, the JuiceShop success pyramid. So JuiceShop over the time had 95 contributors in total, which is not that bad. It's an OWASP flagship project. It even has a gold medal from the OpenSSF Best Practices project. So, which is typically given to really well secured and well maintained open source projects. And I had to convince the people behind it that JuiceShop has to have some security vulnerabilities, because normally you're of course not supposed to have those, right? So they basically gave me a pass on the fact that JuiceShop has some intentional vulnerabilities, but no unintended ones. JuiceShop is pretty, I would say, well crafted, with a pretty high test coverage, especially for an open source project, I would say. Also relatively good code quality, I would say. And it's used quite a bit. So we are at almost 8,000 GitHub stars. So I think the real number here at the very bottom is we are missing 22 stars for the actual 8,000. Number of downloads from GitHub from the releases page is closing in on 200,000, but the really crazy number is the number of Docker image pulls, which is almost 80 million by now. And I have no idea why and how in reality people are using this application so much that they need so many fresh images of the JuiceShop. But I won't complain, let's put it like that. So let's see. At some point, maybe I will still see the 100 million being cracked. So if you ask yourself how you could contribute to this lovely project, of course you can help us out in the code base. So the easiest way to do that is go to GitHub and check our backlog of issues. Currently there are not so many because we are approaching the next Google Summer of Code. And that is typically the time when many of the, let's say, beginner-friendly tickets are gone, because students who propose a project for the Google Summer of Code with us pick up those to actually get a feeling for working on the application. And also you find here the link to the Crowdin project if you want to help with translation, for example. If you need a bit more information on how to get started, especially for the contribution part, we have a very extensive documentation which gives you an overview of the code base and also gives you the complete development contributor guide. And this little ebook here, which you can also read online, has chapters on each and every vulnerability in the application. It has hints for every challenge. It has complete step-by-step solutions for every challenge. So if you're really stuck with one of the challenges and just want to get it done step by step, this is the place you can always fall back to. If you contribute to the JuiceShop for the first time, meaning you get your first pull request merged, I will send you some stickers with the little caveat that I tend to take more time to send those out than I actually want. So So if you get a pull request merged, I will ask you on a private channel or via email for your address. And if you give it to me, I will put it in a list, in a backlog basically. And at some point, I will go to the post office with a bunch of letters which contain stickers, postcards, and all kinds of other things. And if you successfully participate in a Google Summer of Code or other bigger event, which leads to nice improvements for the juice shop, you might even get a t-shirt or a hat or some other of the merchandise that you can also see in the shop itself. Okay, we are almost at the end. Just a little overview of what we currently have on the project roadmap. So the first 4 entries here, this is basically ideas that we as a project team have posted for potential Google Summer of Code projects for this year. So this could be renovating the scoreboard, because if you noticed when I filtered and did some stuff on the scoreboard, this didn't feel really that great, and it also was performance-wise not really perfect. So we actually would like to get some improvements happening here. The ebook that I mentioned, where you find all the documentation and hints and everything, is currently using an out-of-date Gitbook technology stack, and we actually would like to migrate away from that to something more modern, which might also become a Google Summer of Code project. Then we had for some time already ideas about Web3 specific hacking challenges. So doing some crazy stuff with blockchains and whatnot, smart contracts, and I don't know. So this might also be a cool project for Summer of Code. And another one might actually be to enhance our cheat detection, which is currently pretty simple. So it mostly just compares time between previous and current challenge being solved, and it takes into account a few dependencies. For example, if you remember when I logged in or when I played with the login, and I got this error message, this incorrect handling of error messages challenge solved. This could have also happened at the same time when my successful SQL injection happens, right? And of course, when these two are solved together, that doesn't mean that you cheated, right? It could just be correlated. And these kind of things are already taken into account in our current cheat detection. But of course, this could be improved and be made even more smart. Then there's also a little initiative going on to bring the juice shop challenges into the OpenCRE. So as a dedicated resource, similar to OWASP top 10 entries or cheat sheets or ASVS chapters and all those things. So that basically if you in the OpenCRE look for example, cross-site scripting, you find available juice shop challenges as an additional resource. Then we also have some sweet Grafana dashboard that's coming with the juice shop, in which you can quite easily set up to monitor your own instance. I didn't show that for time reasons, but we actually want to enhance that as well. Then our test coverage is currently at 88%. I would personally feel much better if it was 90 or more again, but yeah, that's a continuous task, I would say. And of course, the biggest roadmap item of all is to sell our existing NFT collection. And if you ask yourself, do these guys really have an NFT collection? The answer is yes, we definitely have, right? And here you can see the 4 available NFTs, which are actually being sold for really not that much money, or not that much Ethereum actually, on OpenSea, right? So, and actually one person, I don't know who, it wasn't me, one person actually bought 1 copy of the Juicy Evil Wasp, right? So I don't know what will happen with these. Maybe they will go to the moon, as the crypto guys say, or maybe they will go completely down the drain some point in time. But I can only recommend to get your own official Juice Shop NFT for, I think it's roughly something between 20 and 30 euros, which is what they are selling for. So if you're into such crazy stuff and, let's say, not exactly safe kinds of investment, but with a huge opportunity for nerdiness, this is what you actually want to do. Additional information you can find on the official website, owasp-juice.shop. The source code is all on GitHub. So the main project and the CTF extension and all other code projects we have are all MIT licensed, so very, very friendly license type. The ebook is Creative Commons licensed. So, and all the artwork is available in the OWASP swag repository. And this will also be where I will put the lovely flag, the lovely logo with the Netherlands chapter flag that I showed at the beginning. So that's all I have. Thank you all for your attention, and I'm open for questions if you have any.
All right, Björn. Thank you for your presentation. We're a bit over the timeline, also due to the technical error halfway. But I think we're exceptionally clear on the object, because there are no questions in the chat just yet.
I have no questions. I will just assume that everything you might be interested in has been covered.
That might actually be the case.
Or maybe even more than you've been interested in.